We are here, as you know, this afternoon in the CIU Situation Room. You would have seen yourself around all the rebuild programs that CIU is involved in, and also the assessment they're involved in. And of course, we are here today to talk about the very generous donation that's been given by Vodafone in the school rebuild program. We have the Minister for Education here with us, of course, Honorable Rosie Akbar, and the PS for Education, and the CEO of Vodafone, Mr. Pradeep Lal Shah from Construction Implementation Unit. The $300,000 that they're going to present to us, maybe we can have that now. $300,000. This $300,000 will be used for all the schools in the R1 and R2 categories. As you know, the schools, when they get damaged, they are rated in respect of the type of and amount of damage that has actually occurred to the buildings in those schools. R1 and R2s, as we can see through Cyclone Yasa, a lot of schools fall within that particular category. In other words, some of them have damages. You know, if you look at construction costs in terms of the materials, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, where a few tin roofs may have blown away, or perhaps some damages to the windows where there's been some water leakage, etc. So these schools can be up and running fairly quickly. And the agreement with Vodafone is that this $300,000 will go towards the construction or the maintenance or rehabilitation of those schools in those categories, because they are the ones with the largest numbers in that particular category. Perhaps I'll get the CEO to say a few words, and Minister Akbar invited to say a few words, and then Shah can explain a few things.
Thank you, Minister. Friends from the media, thank you very much. We are all aware that the damages which has happened after the cyclone. So Vodafone Fiji deployed two sets of team. First, we wanted to get the network up and running in the area. So we immediately after the cyclone, all the engineers went on the ground and worked almost 24/7. And within 3 days, we were able to bring the network, 80% of the network was working. And as I speak, now we are sitting on 95%. Unfortunately, two of our sites, the towers fell, and it will take about 3 months before we are able to put the towers back. But the good news is there is neighboring sites which is able to provide connectivity to those areas. Also, we have seen that the Energy Fiji sustained major damages, and they provide power to most of the sites. So it will take a while before the Energy Fiji is able to get power in those areas. And to help, we have shipped gensets from Vodafone, and all our sites are now equipped with gensets, so we are able to run the network as normal. So that's on the network front. So we are quite determined to get the other two sites up and running ASAP. At the same time, we deployed another team, and I was part of that team, so I could get first-hand experience and get to see what has happened on the ground. Through Vodafone ATH Foundation, we packed building materials and some food items, and took 500 packs worth $100,000. And we, together with our team, we have got a red alert team, which after every natural disaster and all those things, we got quite a good team set up. So immediately we are able to deploy those teams in the field. And with the help of the team, we were able to visit those areas which was most affected and give the rations to the affected community. And as the minister said this afternoon, that we saw that one of the key areas which we wanted to focus is, because the schools are opening, so we wanted to put the students, as many students, back to school at the earliest possible. And to that effect, we came back and decided that we'll work with the Ministry of Education, and today we are handing over a check of $300,000, which the ministry will manage to there are various categories where the schools are classified, and I'm sure with this money, number of schools would be repaired quite quickly. So where there is small damages, so this will make 20 to 30 schools up and running quite quickly actually. So at this point in time, I also want to take the opportunity to thank, there are many donors which have come and supported during these difficult times, and we thank them all for coming, and we encourage others to come so that we can rebuild and life becomes normal at the earliest possible. Thank you. Daka.
Minister, will you say a few words to the school?
Thank you, AG, and thank you, team, members of the media. Good afternoon to you all. Yes, we are very, very grateful to Vodafone Fiji for coming on board, and the timely and generous donation will, of course, assist us in the quick rebuilding of our at least 20 schools that we have projected we will be able to complete quick fix and repairs with the 300,000 that has been donated. We have been on the ground, and the teams are still on the ground from day one, and we are very pleased that we are working with the construction implementation unit, which is partnering with the ministry in our second phase, that is the rehab phase. But ladies and gentlemen, what we have found during our monitoring at ground levels, that though many schools have sustained extensive damage, you will see that classrooms have fallen down. The number of students enrolled currently last year, and those anticipated to resume classes from the 18th, the numbers have drastically fallen down. So in some schools, we do have buildings that are still standing, and we are working with the heads of schools to ensure that we are able to house our students in a comfortable environment. However, some of the schools have had extensive damages, and we have the CIU team with us to ensure that we progress into the rebuild process in future. But for the time being, we are confident, and we are working with all the partners that we have to ensure that we open schools on the 18th. 18th, we will reopen for the teachers. So I'd like to urge all the heads of schools and teachers to be aware that school starts for them on the 18th. We anticipate students in the northern division who have been affected by TC Yasa, whether they have had their homes damaged or their farms damaged, to start trickling into schools by the 19th. We will not pressure parents and students on uniforms and footwear and stationery. All we want them is to return to schools, and of course there's a lot of assistance provided. So to the parents, please don't pressure yourself. This is the time to rebuild your homes, rebuild your lives, but we want the education of our children to continue. And again, I would also like to thank all our donors and partners for coming on board and displaying a lot of generosity in a true Fijian spirit, so that we help each other in these trying times. So thank you, Vodafone. Thank you once again. Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe you could get Shah very quickly to show give us a quick brief in this situation regarding the damage to school, and maybe you can say a little bit about that and show them the slides.
Sure. Thank you, sir. Ministers, the first board that you can see here is now giving the list of all various cyclones, or we have previous ones, right? Like Winston, Kenny, Gita, and Yasa. So you see the yellow ones, some are blue ones there, and the red ones. This is the entire all rehabilitation projects highlighted. So if you go to that board, then we screen ourselves down to.
Let me tell them what the yellow is and blue and red.
The yellow is the Winston. The yellow on the head is public buildings, and the blue is Gita and Kenny, sorry, and the green is Gita, and red. Why we have made it red is these are the current ones. So every time when the process starts, the mark or the tag is always red. So why we're saying blue and green, we have already started the process of documentation, getting the consultant on board and all that, and so these things have started moving. Red, nothing yet. So that warrants us to act immediately. We have plotted this back on this map here, this board, so that we can concentrate on the red ones. So it's filtered out from here. It comes in here, the early preliminary assessments. As you know, this was category 5 here, 5-5, 5-4, 3-2, and then dying out. So we have assessed the various wind speed as well, and then the structures, the existing structures, and then how the cyclone behaved in the entire island. Okay. So moving at the various boards on this side, this is the pictorial side of things. We will now show you the 6. Board 6 is on Yasa. So if you want to have a summary of after event, so various boards is going to tell us which board to pull and then see it for yourself. So the preliminary report for Yasa is now coming in, and then we have now come to realize that there are certain buildings that can be fixed by R1, R2. So not a huge number compared to what Winston did, but still the places where it hit is really on a very structural side of things that we can see. Some of the school buildings were probably left out for very long, outdated maintenance structure that we want to put in. So we have new lessons from Yasa, and of course we will definitely forward whatever the strategies that we will be working in with the Ministry of Education as well.
So as highlighted, just to quickly summarize, as the Honourable Minister stated, and also as Shah has stated, that there's obviously quite a few schools. You can see the list over here. At this point in time, if you look at the public buildings, also something like 104 structures we are looking at. We've got a breakdown under the various provinces here. And a lot of the buildings that actually have been damaged are R1, R2, and the idea is to very quickly get them fixed up. And we're working with the Asset Management Unit through the Ministry of Education, CIU. And the funding, as we said, from the Vodafone will immediately go towards those repairs of those schools. And as also, as the Minister highlighted some of the schools, and as Shah has also highlighted, you can see some of these buildings. They're very old buildings, some of them, the entire just walls just fell down. There's some of the schools over here, there is actually some buildings over here, for example. In this particular high school was built by the school committee. Most of these buildings, were built by the school committees or whichever organization that ran it. You can see that this one was apparently recently built, but when the roof flew away, it took away the top part of the wall too. So the construction the model was not right, and obviously there was some laxities in respect of the integrity of the buildings and the integrity of the construction system that was used. So now this is the time for us to be able to get into those schools and identify what the issues were. But the most immediate attention that we need to pay, of course, as the Honourable Minister highlighted, is to get the schools up and running, for the schools to start. So thank you, Vodafone, for the $300,000 to be very, used very quickly. And if you look at an average of, say, about $15,000 a building, for those with the R1, R2 category, you're looking at about 20 schools to be fixed out from the $300,000. So that's essentially what we're here for today, but as more and more information comes through, Shah's team, some of them are still out in the field.
Yes, sir.
They're also out in the islands. And when they come back, we should have the full list by an assessment, etc., and what is required by this weekend itself. But there's no doubt the Minister for Education, working with CIU, will start actually calling for, expressions of interest for the reconstruction or for the minor works for those schools that have already been identified. Okay.